Hello there, Shat Nation. It's Gene Lyons here. Before we dive into Thelma and Louise, a movie all about an unforgettable road trip, I want to tell you about my own wild ride, one that might be just as reckless, but hopefully with fewer cops and fewer cliffs. It is time again for the Chop Top Challenge, and I will be driving the Shatmobile, a Mercedes-Benz S55 AMG that has no roof and no windshield, from Toledo, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois, to Pensacola, Florida on March 24th through April 1st. And then after that, I got to head my ass back north from Pensacola through Nashville to Louisville. You can follow my journey on Instagram at Shatmobile. And if you're anywhere along that route, DM me your city or town. It's not a direct route, so you could be a little bit out of the way and we might be coming through. I'll do my best to let you know when I'll be nearby. I got Shatmobile stickers to give out and would love to grab a quick photo with you. But I can't stick around too long, so don't make any plans. So before you hit play on this episode, hit follow at Shatmobile on Instagram and track what might be the dumbest or best road trip since Thelma and Louise. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down to Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, a podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to sell the movies we have covered, will cover, and want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, I'm very excited for tonight's film and this week in general. One of our listeners, legendary Mount Rushmore supporter of the podcast, been with us for years, Rachel C. She's commissioned multiple films. So tonight is special for her. She's already done Tequila Sunrise, great podcast, great movie. Father of Bride. I know you guys hated the movie, but I loved it. We had The Grifters, great film. Desperado, fun. We have Haunted Honeymoon coming up later, I believe, this year. And tonight's film, long overdue that we would go out, hit the open road for Rachel C. It was the 1991 American crime drama / feel-good road trip, Thelma and Louise.
Well, Rachel C. from Milwaukee wrote in and said, "Thank you for accepting my commission of Thelma and Louise. I've been around this block a few times with you guys, and I never know what to expect with your reviews. This movie isn't a personal top 10 or anything, but I think it's a noteworthy 90s film that maybe you hadn't even seen before. I feel it holds up pretty decently. It's well written, an engrossing dramatic story, and sometimes even funny. Acting and cinematography are first rate. I look forward to the inevitable hot or not debate since both Geena Davis and Susan Sarandon seem to have polarizing looks. Can we at least agree both of their bodies are banging? I'll address one criticism before signing up. People complain that the men are portrayed as cartoonishly buffoonish. Well, maybe. Then again, some men, sometimes, do behave disappointingly or obnoxiously, even deplorably. But more importantly, this movie celebrates friendship, and I dedicate this commission to my ride or die bestie, Michelle, your forever loyal listener, Rachel C. from Milwaukee. Rachel, you are correct. I have not seen this movie before. As for the inevitable hot or not debate, never even crossed my mind. But I will say that ever since Rocky Horror Picture Show, Susan Sarandon is A+ banging body in my book.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It never even occurred to me. That was not one of the things. I was more focused on the men. I think the men are the eye candy in this film, not the two leading ladies.
And as far as the men being cartoonishly buffoonish, that also didn't cross my mind because I am a self-professed man hater. And I think guys are dicks for the most part. And these guys were accurate portrayals of the many dimensions of dickishness. No offense, Dick.
No, none taken.
Well, Thelma and Louise is a 1991 crime drama directed by Ridley Scott and written by Callie Corey. The film stars Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis as Louise and Thelma, two friends who embark on a road trip that ends up in unforeseen circumstances. The supporting cast includes Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Christopher McDonald, and Brad Pitt. Filming took place in California and Utah from June to August 1990. Following its premiere at the 44th Cannes Film Festival on May 20th, 1991, Thelma and Louise was theatrically released in the United States on May 24th and became a critical and commercial success, receiving 6 nominations at the 64th Academy Awards, with Corey winning Best Original Screenplay. Scott was nominated for Best Director, and both Sarandon and Davis were nominated for Best Actress. Thelma and Louise has influenced other artistic works and became a landmark of feminist film. In 2006, the American Film Institute ranked it 78th on its list of most inspiring films. And in 2016, the Library of Congress, which last I checked still exists, selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry, finding it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
78th inspirational film? Would you categorize this as inspirational?
Absolutely.
What did it inspire you to do?
Oh, I read that as like inspiring as a piece of film.
Oh, I thought it was something that would like inspire the audience. This was a tale like
the category was like films that make you feel inspired. Maybe
I thought this was like a story of overcoming a challenge, like Rudy, or like, or what was the Invictus? You know, that's an inspiring tale. Not this.
I took it as like artistically inspirational.
Okay, I'll give you some leeway. I hope.
Well, Big D, as a teen, I made the mistake of dropping in on a viewing of Thelma and Louise, and talk about not being inspirational. It was right at the end scene, which both spoiled the movie and made me aware that this has a sad ending, which made me not want to watch it. I don't want to get bummed out. I'm okay with certain sad endings. I like the French films,
yes.
But others like movies that end in a dog dying or, 2 women dying driving over the Grand Canyon. That's just going to bum me out forever. But for Rachel, I sucked it up. I watched this one. And although I was rooting for Thelma and Louise the whole time, I was not cast into a depression hole by the well-known conclusion.
So to my best recollection, I do not remember watching this entire film when it came out. Somewhere along the lines in the last 20, 30 years, I definitely have seen it. But going back now, normally we don't watch the trailers before we add them in, before we go and pull them and add them into the audio. This week, I had an inkling. I said, I should probably go pull the trailer. So I did. I shared it with you. And this trailer is straight up deceptive. It sells Thelma and Louise as this feel-good, like girls romp road trip. It's got upbeat music. There's some romance. There's hijinks. It's a young, hot Brad Pitt. Me as a young, was I when this came out? Like in my late teens, I was not going to go see this. They did not hint at the dramatic turn, the murder, the escalating crime spree, the tragic ending. It is a bait and switch on legendary proportions. I don't remember ever seeing a trailer like this. It's you go in expecting it's going to be an empowering, fun girls' weekend. They're like, Thelma, she's a wild girl looking for a good time. Louise is going through some hard romantic times. They hit the road. That's not at all what happens. In 91, audiences must have sat there and been like, holy shit. What did I sign up? This is not at all the movie I was sold.
And I think that's such a great choice, though, right? Because if they'd said, they drive off a cliff at the end, kissing and holding hands, as an 11-year-old or even a teenager like you, I would have been like, no, thank you. But if you say, hey, this is a fun romp, and then suddenly a guy's getting capped, hell yeah.
Yeah, this is a trick. This made the guys go to the theater date night. Oh, it'll be a fun movie. They're going to go out on the road, some hijinks and wacky situations. And it forced them on the road home to have a conversation with their significant other. Like, hey, have you ever had a situation like that? Have their guys treated you like that? Maybe. It was a sneaky in to get the message across.
And Big D, we talk about this all the time, but listeners, close your eyes. Remember, 1991, there's no internet to go look up what the movie's about. You're dependent on the trailer and maybe a listing in the newspaper, or maybe you watch at the movies. That is your impression of what a movie is going to be. So I can imagine millions of people were taken by surprise.
Yeah. And Gene, for the ladies here, they go out, they're going to let their hair down, have fun. I've started drinking already for the girls, so I'm going to lead us into the trailer, Gene, with a White Claw. I think it's very appropriate.
Thelma.
I'll get it!
Thelma, have not told you I can't stand it when you holler in the morning?
I'm sorry, doll. I just didn't want you to be late. Hey, how you doing, little housewife?
Louise.
Yeah, I still have to ask Daryl if I can go. You mean you haven't asked him yet? Thelma, is he your husband or your father?
Thelma and Louise are going fishing.
How come Daryl let you go? Because I didn't ask him. He's gonna kill you! I left him a note.
Thelma and Louise are going to catch hell.
I'll have a wild turkey straight up and a Coke back, please.
Thelma!
Oh, what? Tell me something. Is this my vacation or isn't it? Did you see his butt?
Thelma, have you lost your mind? I'm investigator Hal Slocum, Arkansas State Police. You get your butt back here, Thelma, now.
As you know, we've tapped your phone.
What?
Maybe you got a few too many parking tickets?
Thelma, what happened?
You're getting in deeper every moment you're gone. You want to step back and get in your car again, please?
I swear, 3 days ago, neither one of us would have ever pulled a stunt like this, but if you was able to meet my husband, you'd understand why.
What?
Louise, shoot the radio. The police radio, Louise.
Got it.
Thelma and Louise.
How do you like the vacation so far?
Two friends, Thelma Dickinson and Louise Sawyer, set out for a weekend vacation at a fishing cabin in the mountains to take a break from their dreary lives in Arkansas. Thelma, a housewife, is married to disrespectful and controlling carpet salesman Daryl, while sharp-tongued Louise works as a server in a diner and is dating easygoing musician Jimmy, who is on the road most of the time. So Big D, you mentioned it with that trailer. When award shows and retrospectives now, today, look back on the groundbreaking films of the 90s, Thelma and Louise is always there. As Rachel suggested, it is a landmark film. It is iconic. It's in the montage representing the feminism of the 90s. And there's the iconic stars and Geena Davis and Susan Sarandon and Harvey Keitel and Brad Pitt. And there's the iconic scenes, the car going over the Grand Canyon. And if you were to go by that, which I, Gene Lyons, did, you would assume that Thelma and Louise was a self-serious chick flick about the struggles of women and their untimely demise. But watching this with fresh eyes, like I was in 1991, I was surprised by how funny and fun this movie is, at least in the beginning, right? Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin, right? He's not beating Thelma up. He's not sexually assaulting her. He's psychologically abusive, for sure. But it's more in a way that makes Christopher McDonald, Daryl, the butt of the protagonist jokes, right? He's a carpet salesman. He takes himself very seriously. All the guys in his driveway who are doing the work on the house don't respect him at all. He's got his shitty sports car, right? He's not scary. He's a walking embodiment of male mediocrity. And so the movie starts off with putting a smile on my face.
Yeah, in True Lies.
Bill Paxton, yeah.
Yeah, he plays that pathetic used car salesman. Daryl is very much like that. And you're exactly right. This is the M. Night Shyamalan of road trip movies. Nothing you think is going to happen happens. The first half, it plays out like the trailer. It's a buddy comedy. It's going to be funny. They're going to be flirty fun. They're going to hook up on the road. And Daryl, you said he's emotionally abusive. Yes, he's controlling, but he's a complete joke. He's not scary. He's an idiot. Everybody laughs at him. Thelma's not necessarily afraid of him. She leaves and says, hey, I left him a note. She goes. That's the smartest part of the movie. It got people in there who normally wouldn't have gone. It lulls them into what they think it's going to be. Then they yank the rug out. But it's like you put Friday the 13th. And they're like, hey, here we are at Camp Crystal Lake. These kids are going to have a summer of hijinks and find love. And then you get out there, and it's not about that. It's about a sleepaway camp and a murdering mutant kid stuck in the lake.
Well, on the way, they stop at a roadhouse bar where Thelma dances with a stranger named Harlan. Harlan tries to rape Thelma. That's where it takes a turn.
Yes.
But Louise shoots him in a fit of rage. The two women immediately drive off. Thelma wants to go to the police, but Louise fears that no one will believe them. They decide to flee to Mexico, but Louise demands that they travel there without going through Texas.
Yeah, so our fun adventure, it's pretty short-lived. I thought it would be more of the movie, but it escalates quickly. Thelma and Louise, they're barely on the road. They get in, they haven't even filled up the gas tank. They get out a couple hours. They want to stop, have a drink, and it turns dark, Gene, instantaneously. They're having fun. 1 minute, they're drinking, they're dancing. The next, Thelma's getting assaulted violently in the parking lot. They show it. Underwear ripped off. It is violent, it is frightening, and it is shocking. Then you think it couldn't get any worse. Louise pulls out the gun. She shoots Harlan. Now, I knew this was going to happen. I knew from my first viewing that he was going to get shot and they were going to go on the run. But I was not expecting it to be this intense, this fast. I thought it was more of they're on the road, they're talking about their lives, they're growing, they're reminiscing about their past, dreaming about their future. Instead, they pull the trigger, boom, it's off. They're running. It's like the movie says. It's almost as if we were in the backseat of the car. One bad decision, you can't take it back, you can't change it, and the movie becomes a completely different film instantaneously.
It's so good at misdirection, too, that I thought at the beginning of the movie that the crime, the shooting, seeing the gun in the house was going to be Daryl getting shot, right? That Daryl was going to get rough with Thelma, and that's what was going to happen. That Louise shows up. I did not expect it to happen here at the bar, but you start to see things getting a little creepy, right? It's getting dark. Drinks are happening. It's a crowded bar. This Harlan guy comes up, and you start to get that feeling in your pit of stomach that something's going to go wrong. And Big D, I'm a big time planner.
Yeah.
So I was already getting highs when Louise wanted to deviate from a simple plan. Okay. If the plan is to get to the mountain fishing cabin pre-internet, you don't have Google Maps, right? There's no Waze, and you don't have a cell phone. So you got to make it there, hopefully before it gets dark as you're driving through the mountains in your, vintage car. So they're already running late. They want to get to the cabin before it's dark. The idea of stopping at a bar for some fun means a couple things, right? It means you're probably going to be drinking, which might not be the best idea on your road trip. It's going to get darker at this cabin that you do not own and have not been to, okay? And you also don't know any of the locals there. You don't know the vibe in this place. And before people say that, I don't have my inner Sandy or whatever, yes, sometimes going off script can lead to an adventure, okay? You don't have to tell me. I do the Chop Top Challenge, right? I know that sometimes I'm driving down a road. I don't know what's at the end of that road. I don't know what's in the town I'm going into. But I prepare because I know that is going to be the nature of the trip I'm going on. Maybe, Thelma, this is the first time you've ever left your hometown. Maybe take it easy this time. Just go to the cabin and chill out. So, yes, this escalation happens fast, but they're making bad decisions almost from the get-go.
Terribly. And I felt like it was going to be Legend of Billie Jean, right? It's not a straight up. Billie Jean didn't shoot Pyatt and blow his head off, and then they go on the goofy run. And she becomes this idol. It's violent, it's shocking, it's fast. And I know that these are two regular women. They have normal lives, housewife, one is a waitress. But I've never shot anyone. I've never committed a murder, but I do a podcast with you, Gene. And you and I have seen plenty of plots and crimes that people either don't plan well or make horrible mistakes. And immediately, I know I should be focusing on this is a terrible, traumatic event for this woman. But instead, I'm focusing on what they're doing. It's a horrible situation. Thelma's been violated. Louise steps up. She shoots him. It's a matter of fact. Let's get going. But you got to be smart, ladies. They start shouting each other's name back and forth. I can't believe you shot him, Louise. Hey, Thelma, get the car. Where's the gun, Thelma? Oh, Louise, what's he doing? I'm like, shut the fuck up. Get in the car. At this point, you're in earshot of everybody. The police, they have a very, very tiny description of a couple ladies. They don't have any other information. And they're shouting their names out. And I'm like, stop it, stop it. So I did a search like I always do, a quick search of the script. Thelma says Louise 102 times. Louise says Thelma 96 times. That's insane. Don't make the job of the cops easier. If you shot someone, Gene, I wouldn't be screaming, Gene, get the car. Gene Lyons, what have you done? Why is that man dead, Gene Lyons? I would say, hey, get the car. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Am I overthinking this?
I'm glad you acknowledged at least that the point of this scene is that a woman was nearly raped by this disgusting pig. And then we get to have the satisfaction of seeing Harlan receive sweet justice in the form of a 38 to the chest, right?
I do.
That you're not saying that what we should be doing in the scene is evaluate how deftly a rape survivor and a woman who's just been assaulted pull off the crime. I get what you're saying. Statistically speaking, when people are in a panicked state, when something traumatic happens, they tend to not say names. Like if we're talking about this from a realism perspective, right? Mm-hmm. People actually don't say names all that much. They'll just refer to like body language, eye contact, etc. We should look at it through the framework of this is not a crime film per se. It is a dramatic film. And I think that there is some license taking, as Ridley Scott tends to do, right? Even when he does sci-fi, it's not like pure sci-fi. There's a lot of a literary approach to it. And so what does this mean, right? Does it mean that the bond between them is something, or is the fact that they're saying each other's names so much meant to emphasize the fact that they are really rookies at this, or they are really panicked? But I agree with you. 96 times, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I'll take it as he's doing a good job. He's making me care about the characters. The reason I'm paying attention to this is because I want them to get away with it. We all are supporting them, and we're hating bootleg Bradley Cooper, Harlan. We want them to get away, and that's why I care about it. So as it's happening, I'm like, don't be so stupid. I want you to get away. You made these dumb mistakes before you committed the crime, during it, and then after it continues. And I'm like, ladies, come on. We want you to get away with this. We want there to be justice, but there's no justice if you guys end up in jail. Nobody saw you. There's no credit cards on file. Nobody in town knew who you were. You could have just gone to the cabin, enjoyed the weekend, talk through it, work through what happened, then decide whether or not maybe you want to go back to the police. But that doesn't happen. Instead, they completely melt down. Might be natural. That would be expected. But you don't make desperate phone calls back home. You don't start admitting something's wrong. You don't stay close to the crime scene. And the worst part, Gene, the only thing tying them to the murder besides the car, but the car doesn't say anything. There could have been hundreds of those cars in the state. You're carrying around the murder weapon with you still. There's no fingerprints anywhere, no security footage. The Thunderbird is it, leaving the scene. Hey, maybe we wanted to get to the cabin. Harlan? We didn't see Harlan. Throw the gun in the river. Bury it in the desert. Do anything except carry it around like a souvenir. At this point, they're asking to get caught. They're smart ladies, and I want them to get away with it. So that's why I'm feeling the anxiety.
Before anyone writes in with it, I'm actually... Yes, Thelma's fingerprints were on Harlan's car. I think you're discounting how valuable that gun was. Thelma Louise, again, talking about the type of movie this is. This isn't Heat, okay? It's not Young Guns. This is a movie about two women who dared to leave their cage. And in doing so, they learned that leaving your cage goes both ways. It gives you freedom, but it also invites predators who were kept out by the bars of that cage. That gun, it just stopped a man from raping Thelma. That gun also gave Louise power over the trauma that she experienced earlier in her life, right? There's a reason why she was triggered by Harlan, no pun intended, more than the average person would be. It is the symbol of their empowerment, and it's so poetic that it was given to Thelma by Daryl, who never imagined it would do anything other than protect his property, right? Thelma had it at home and, she would never even use it. She didn't want to shoot that thing, right? So the gun it's an important symbol in the film, and that's why they have to keep it with them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. if this were another kind of movie, the first thing you do is get rid of the fucking gun.
Okay, so I'll let him keep the symbol. I understand. It's okay. We'll carry the symbol forward. We'll see where it goes, Gene. We'll see where it goes.
Well, heading west, they come across a young drifter, JD, to whom Thelma takes a liking. Louise contacts Jimmy, asking him to wire her life savings to her. Jimmy surprises her by delivering the money in person, and they spend the night together. Jimmy proposes to Louise, but she refuses. Meanwhile, JD shows up at Thelma's hotel room and they sleep together. And she learns he is a convicted armed robber. The following morning, the women discover JD has stolen Louise's savings and fled. A guilt-ridden Thelma takes charge and robs a nearby convenience store using tactics she learned from JD. So now, Big D, it's my turn to complain about people being fucking stupid. I understand that who is to blame absolutely is not the point of this movie. But Thelma, come on. She diverts the road trip. She gets drunk. She dances with a creep. And I'm not saying it's her fault for that happening.
No, I'm glad you're not victim shaming, Gene. I'm glad.
I am not victim shaming or saying that she was asking for it. My point is she makes a series of risky decisions that culminates in her leaving the money with JD. It 100% makes the catastrophes that Thelma and Louise encounter Thelma's fault. She is not listening to Louise, who is a little more seasoned, a little more worldly, who understands the risks that are out there, right? She is putting them in danger constantly. And it really struck a nerve with me because I am super risk averse. And I get really frustrated when friends like this, when that happy-go-lucky friend who just drifts through the world having a good time, puts me in sketchy situations, whether that's almost missing trains in Europe or going down an unscouted trail on motorcycles. Because when shit goes sideways, I can't just turn over and say, hey, you motherfucker, this is all your fault, because they're your friend. You still have to keep that veneer of being kind and work through it together.
That's because you're always the Louise.
I'm always the Louise.
You are always the Louise. And Louise pulls the trigger, but Thelma, she lights that fucking fuse over and over and over again. And you're right. We all have the reckless friend. And there's nothing worse than having to clean up their mess. I did a guy's trip with a group of friends for one of my friends' 50th. We went to the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're in a local small town, group of locals. And this dude is like trying to start a fight. So we had to step up to defuse, and luckily nothing happened because calmer heads prevailed, and we were all playing Louise to the one Thelma who's out there stirring shit up, you know? But you got to be smarter. You know your friends who are reckless, right? We love King B, but there's certain limitations, right? And what you would trust King B to do. I'm yelling at the screen. JD, first of all, you give Thelma the money. Mistake number one. What did you think? Do you think Jimmy was going to take it? It's stupid. I was screaming, bad idea. Don't do it. You shouldn't have done it. You should have known your friend.
Thelma had one job.
One job.
Protect the money. This is the money that our lives depend on. And for some reason, she didn't get a red flag when the dude she was fucking admitted to being a robber. He says, I am a robber. What do you think the robber's going to do? And to circle back on the whole thing with Harlan, okay, I just want to be absolutely clear because I feel like I kind of stepped in it here.
I was shocked. I was shocked that you were partially blaming her.
No, I'm not blaming her at all. What I'm saying is, for any of us, you, me, anybody, to be on a road trip and to go into a town that you don't know and to get that drunk at a bar when your friend is telling you, like, we gotta go, we got a schedule, we got a plan. It's a bad idea. Like you said, Big D, it's not just sexual assault. It could be a fight. It could be getting robbed. It could be all kinds of things that could happen to a person. If you want to get drunk, do it at home. Do it on like friendly turf, maybe. Do it with friends around. But like this was just a bad idea. And then it extends to all these other steps, right? It's all these other catastrophes that she unleashes on the group.
But I have to ask you this one thing. So they show up at the bar. They're going to have one or two drinks. I think that Thelma only had like a shot and maybe a beer or two. And she starts feeling funny right after she's dancing. I thought that they had left the table. I was concerned that the drinks were on the table. I thought someone was going to drug them Did Harlan drug her, or was
No.
this just she hasn't drank and it was the limited drink she had and she went over the top?
Well, each drink came with a shot too, though. So I mean, like, look, I mean, like I'm 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, and if you give me in 1 hour 2 shots and 2 beers or fucking margaritas, now imagine that on a much smaller person who doesn't drink a lot. Like you're gonna get wrecked.
Okay, so in order, I'm going to do this for Thelma and Louise. I've already been drinking, but I have my shot tequila here. I'm going to save this for, I think, once they hit the road.
Yeah.
But I think that just like the road trip, this podcast might go off the rails soon once I hit my limit here. But I'm watching the film again, and I get what you're saying, Gene, that we're supposed to feel for Thelma and Louise and what they're going through. And back here when this film came out, maybe this wasn't as much in the public light. It wasn't a conversation that guys had. Guys weren't as aware as they are today about the things that they do and how they make women feel. And I started looking at this objectively, and I'm starting to watch what's going on. And we've already seen the action. We know that Harlan's guilty. We know the ladies did nothing wrong. We know that he deserved what happened to him. But I start thinking again, like, a criminologist or like a lawyer. I'm watching this and I'm like, you've just been violated. You've just had this horrible crime portrayed on you. You've had this horrible crime happen to you. She's going to claim self-defense, and then she starts acting in a way that contradicts that all. She's not acting traumatized, and I know that's normal. But the next day, she's out at the pool in the bikini. She's flirting with JD. She's laughing. To all outward appearances, it looks like she's having the time of her life. Now, I know inside that's not what's going on. And I'm not saying it's right how one person processes trauma. But legally, I'm thinking, holy shit, if you're on the court, if you're up on the stand in court, this is going to be used against her. The DA is going to start ripping her apart and be like, okay, so Miss Thelma, is it true that you were laying out in the sun and you were having drinks with another man? Were you cheating on your husband? Did you pick up a hitchhiker and have sex with him? It's in court. It's going to make her look like she's the one who asked for it. She's not a victim of assault. She's a girl out on spring break having the time of her life. And, this has to be intentional, that the movie is showing us. We've seen her get violated. We've seen her act in a contradictory way. And we know the way people were perceived that, to try to make us understand that not all victims act in a way that we would expect them to.
Yeah. I think very few things in this movie aren't intentional. I think the whole point of the setup with Harlan, the reason why there were the drinks, the reason why she was having the fun, the reason why they had to flee, the reason why she's acting this way after, is all, like you said, to bring up that discussion, right? Because it forces that discussion of saying a woman should be able to go out and have drinks and have fun and flirt with a guy and not be subject to sexual assault, right? Likewise, if a person is assaulted, if a woman is assaulted, we cannot have expectations of how they're supposed to react. And this is one of those times, I think, when not having a woman host hurts the podcast. But I can speak from experience when I say I've been on a trip to California during which a friend of mine was raped. It was a group trip. She was raped by a guy that she met on that trip, not in our group, but like a guy that she met at a bar. And she didn't tell anyone for years. I understand why. I was also horrified during the E. Jean Carroll case. When the Trump defense team, they didn't submit any evidence. Instead, they decided to attack the plaintiff's credibility, which isn't all that uncommon. Like this, defense teams in rape trials, they're generally going to go for what you said, Big D. They want inconsistencies. They will look at your past behavior. They will question your motives in accusing the guy. And they will even suggest that maybe you misinterpreted events, right? Maybe Harlan really wasn't being that rough with you. Maybe he thought you liked it. Maybe the fact that you were drinking with him and dancing with him and went to the parking lot with him and were at his car, maybe you were consenting. Maybe maybe you misinterpreted. The thing with rape that makes it such a specific crime is that there are rarely witnesses other than the attacker and the survivor. And so it's one person's word against another. And I completely think that the way Thelma acted after this crime was committed was portrayed with intent.
And I think it's a difficult situation. I think I've talked about in the podcast before that it was the one night I stayed sober in college where I went back to the fraternity house and there was a party going on. I walked into my room and the girl had passed out. I wasn't there. I was sober. And she said, a tall blonde guy raped me. The police came and interviewed me. I was scared shitless. Luckily, I was sober. I could explain where I was. I didn't go in the room. I told her friends to come and get her. So it is a tough, tough situation. But it can go both ways. We've seen it's almost as if I feel like we need a contract, like a consent contract or something, that we're getting to a point here where it's people try to read intentions, and it is such a hard thing. I would not want to be young and single out today and trying to deal and navigate, trying to interpret what people want. And it's fuck, because she probably would have had a wonderful night with Harlan if he wasn't a violent fuck. And none of this would have ever happened. So it's a tough situation.
I hear what you're saying, Big D, but I also think that, listen, you and I, we are in our 40s and 50s respectively, right? Sorry, Sarah. Sorry, Vanessa, but we've had sex with multiple partners. Sorry, Mom. You sometimes at the same time. I think we've always known when it was clearly consensual. I'm not as much a believer that there is like that blurry area. I should add the caveat there that like I'm very uncomfortable even having sex with a drunk person. So like maybe my life is a little bit different than others.
Great.
The FBI closes in on the duo after witnesses at the bar identify Louise's car. Led by Arkansas State Police investigator Hal Slocum, the police question JD and tap into the phone line at Daryl's house. During a few brief phone conversations with Louise, Hal expresses his concerns and tells her he knows what happened to her in Texas. Thelma tells Louise she will not go back to Daryl, and Louise promises Thelma they will keep going together. While back on the road, Thelma asks if Louise was sexually assaulted in Texas, and Louise tells Thelma to never bring it up again. Quick pivot here. We've talked about some pretty serious topics. I want to talk about the cute boys in this movie. Ooh. I've got to hand it to Ridley Scott for making all the guys in this movie look great. I mean, Brad Pitt is making me have gay feelings. Like, he is a specimen. Michael Madsen even, who's generally kind of like chonk and disheveled, he looks shockingly hunky in this movie. Even Harvey Keitel, who just a few years later would be playing kind of like an older gentleman in Pulp Fiction, he has a certain young sheen to him in this movie. The only guy in this movie left out, perhaps, and even so, he's got a little bit of pizzazz, is Christopher McDonald, as we mentioned. He's hilarious as Thelma's husband. This poor guy got all the worst looks of the 90s applied to his character at once.
Dude, it's Shooter McGavin. He's a good-looking dude. If the worst-looking guy is Christopher McDonald, they were casting attractive men. And they threw on top of that. They tried to make him look as bad as they could. They gave him every bad fashion choice. That cheesy 70s Corvette with the exhaust, the pleated pants, those polo shirts, the slick back hair, and the gold watch. It's like they tried to make sure that no one would find him attractive so that Thelma leaving would make sense and be justified. But Brad Pitt, you said you had some gay feelings. He looks ethereal. He looks otherworldly. It is a supernatural vision, almost as if there's a halo. Every woman in this film looks at him with those eyes, and I can see exactly why. And it's not just the body, Gene. He's a younger, slimmer Brad Pitt, but he is charismatic. He's young, he's sexy, and he's got game. This is a deadly combo. He's not just eye candy, but he then plays the game, which would get normal, unattractive guys laid. It's as if Roger Roper had given him the player's guide, or what was the Bible to being a player, that fucking book that Roger used to read. He knows it. He knows how to seduce these women like a pro. First, they're kind of playing around. They're playful. You have Thelma still married. She's still not ready to let go. So he breaks that barrier, Gene. He starts touching her hands. They're playing that little slapping game, and it's cute. So they're now touching. So he's broken that first barrier. Then he says, oh, that wedding ring that's so big, and it's let's get that off. And he slides it off of her finger, and he throws it into like a beer cup. Oh, it's too heavy. Take it off. And so psychologically now, she's not married anymore. She's no longer married Thelma. She's just Thelma, this thirsty woman in a hotel with this hot dude. He's got every tool in the book. It is working for him. It is almost impossible that Brad Pitt would not become a megastar, heartthrob, A-list actor after this performance. this must have like broken hearts across Hollywood. This man and this performance, it's iconic, and it is just a pivot in the history of film.
It sucks that Thelma and Louise got ripped off by JD, but like at least he like gave it to her.
Gave it to her.
I was inspired. I was like, maybe that's why it's one of the, the 78th most inspirational film. I was like, I need to do better. I need to step up my game.
100%. They've already like left him once. Does he say, I'm going to get in there? No, he teases her. He pushes her on the bed. He starts to go down on her. Then she goes up, grabs his belt buckle, and he stands there like proudly, just like looking at himself. And we're looking at himself. And there's just enough like naked silhouetted romping and banging into shit in the room that he pleasured her. He was good. He took care of her. He was a generous lover. It was fantastic to watch.
I was so confused because JD shows up twice in this movie. And at first I was like, wait, did they go back and get him? And I'm like, no, it's in a different place entirely. Like they left him once, dear listener, and they're on like back roads. Like they're avoiding major highways and stuff, but somehow he's on their exact route again. And like, not even on the main road. He's like kind of just off chilling. And they go pick. Did that make any sense to you? Like, what the fuck was going on there?
Well, I thought it was serendipity. I thought it was destiny. So they cross paths with that, the tongue out trucker, the rude trucker. They cross paths with him like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
So I believed it was destiny. It wasn't he was following them. It was just luck of the draw. It was meant to happen. So I didn't have a problem with that. They were destined to get together.
Got it. So that you're fine with, but
yes,
them leaving evidence, you're kind of upset about.
Yeah, it makes sense. Brad Pitt, you see him on the side of the road. I had a problem with them leaving him behind the first time. There's no way. Louise should have looked at Thelma and been like, fuck, your husband's kind of a chode. Fuck Daryl. I want you to get laid by JD. A good friend would have picked him up the first stop and not played with this bullshit like, let's get one room. Gene, I would have set you up. If Brad Pitt was on the side of the road and you were like, hey there, cowboy, I'd be like, this is my friend Gene. Let's go get a hotel. I would have set you up, buddy.
Yeah, you could park a car under his ass. So good. All right. So let's get serious again. The final call to Hal. Okay. So Louise has been making several phone calls basically to Hal Slocum, to Harvey Keitel. And they're doing the whole police trope of like, if keep her on the line longer so we could trace it, which by the way is bullshit. Louise stays on the line an extra long time. And according to the movie, right, that reveals her position to the police. Now, Louise is not stupid. She knew the phone was tapped. She knew she was talking to a cop, even though Daryl was like, no, there's no cops here. And you could hear the cops like moving in the background. And in this cinematic world, police do need a person to stay on the line for a span of time to get a trace. So you got to wonder, why did Louise do it? We've established not stupid. She knows the cops are there. She knows the line is being tapped. Some people have theorized that Louise was like flustered, or she was like considering cutting a deal. So she was trying to get a hold of Hal to see what she could get. I don't buy that one. I've got a different theory. It's a little bit darker. I think Louise knew that things probably were not going to end well. I think she saw that circle closing in on them. I think she felt like there's no way. They know we're going to Mexico. So getting across the border is going to be tough. We don't have money. We robbed a gas station. I think she wanted the world to hear her side of the story. Or if not even, maybe not even the world, she wanted Hal to hear her side of the story. And I think that choice by the film, it's a bit dramatic, but it makes so much more sense than, Louise is dumb and forgot that the line was tapped.
Thelma's a bit of an idiot, but she even picked up on the fact the police are there. So she wouldn't forget that happened. So I have to think you're right. They knew where they were going. They wanted to make peace. They wanted to have their story heard. You know, she's not looking for a deal. But the better question here is Hal. So Hal, we're introduced to him, Harvey Keitel, the cop, early on. He meets the server at the parking lot when the first murder takes place. And the server's like, they wouldn't do it. He deserved it. So he has every reason to just wrap this up. You know, and he's an interesting character. He doesn't do that. He then takes that information and then goes above the law. He breaks into Louise's apartment. Then he goes outside of the normal procedure to collect evidence. He looks like a dirty cop. He looked like he was going to go after them just because they killed a man, but that's not what happened. He actually starts to side with them, and he wants everyone else to see that maybe they aren't dangerous. But where do you land, Gene? Because it's this character of Hal could go both ways. Is he caring? Is he inept? Is he trying to represent like the positive male role model? Because as a cop, he's not good. He's not bad. He's sympathetic, but he's a bit of a mess. I don't know what his intentions were.
I might be going overboard here in my analysis of Hal, but I think that each of the guys in this movie are meant to represent a different element of the way men interact with women and frankly, like toxic masculinity, right? So Daryl, he's controlling, right? He's that controlling husband. He wants to keep you in a box. He wants his dinner ready when it's ready. He's going to disrespect you to make himself feel better. He's the head of the household, that traditional, nuclear family model, even to the point where he doesn't even want children, right? He wants to be it. He wants to be her whole life, Thelma's whole life. Harlan, he's like the extreme of being forceful with women, right? He is male aggression, male assault, like violation of a woman's body. That's what Harlan's there. And then you got JD. JD, I mean, yes, he takes their money, but that's not the key thing he represents, right? He is the womanizer, right? He is using his body, his attractiveness or whatever to get these women to do what he wants. And then you got Jimmy, who again seems like a decent dude. He brings the money, he proposes, he's going to wait for her. He is probably one of the better guys in this movie, but he's a manipulator. Like she reads what he's trying to do, right? He only brought that ring because he feels like she's going to slip away. Louise talks about how he didn't even know the color of her eyes, right? And then you get Hal. Hal is that role that guys think they play, right? The protector. That's our purpose in this world, right? He's the guy that fantasizes about shielding women, but doesn't realize that he's part of the system that endangers him. And it's so funny because if he wanted to break out of that system, go away from the FBI, the cops, everything else, he could have gotten them out safely. He could have, but that's not what he did. He's there chasing after the car with his hand outstretched. Oh, don't shoot him, blah, blah, whatever. Hal, you fucking led to this, dude. I think he's frankly in love with Louise, but he thinks that he's the one that's going to shield them or protect them, not realizing that he's just making the thing worse.
Yeah, agreed. He could have just let the evidence slide, written it off as an unsolved murder. He wants Thelma and Louise to know he's the one that will save them. So I think you're right. He does represent that.
And a common response to this, by the way, is that, well, men are there to protect women. And you always got to follow up with that question. Protect them from what? Yeah, not bears. While crossing the desert, Thelma and Louise are pulled over by a New Mexico state trooper. Thelma holds him at gunpoint and locks him in the trunk of his car while Louise takes his gun and ammunition. When they encounter a foul-mouthed trucker, they pull over and demand an apology. The trucker refuses, so they fire at his fuel tanker, causing it to explode. Thelma and Louise finally are cornered by the authorities at the edge of the Grand Canyon. Rather than be captured, Thelma proposes that they keep going. They kiss and hold hands as Louise steps on the gas and they accelerate over the cliff to their certain deaths.
So, Gene, as we hit this point in the movie, I'm going to do this shot of tequila for the ladies. Thelma and Louise.
Salud.
Whew.
What kind of tequila? Like you a reposado guy?
Oh, I don't know. It's
Blanco, man? Añejo?
It's a Blanco, but I couldn't tell you like the brand.
No, I just meant how aged do you like your tequila?
Aged. You're fancy, Gene.
What?
I'm not like an IPA. Like I go, what is a middle of the road? It can't come in a plastic bottle and it can't be the cheapest option. Just something that the establishment would recommend.
Yeah, but do you like it clean and clear or a little bit smoky, kind of oaky? Like what,
What is this? I'm not drinking wine. I want it just to be smooth. I would like it to have almost no taste.
Okay, you like a Blanco.
Yes, a Blanco. Yes, mine is white. A Blanco.
Yeah.
Yes. So that Blanco, it's for the ladies. But Gene here, the end of the movie is coming now. It's the iconic conclusion everybody knows. And after all this running, all this chasing, all these terrible decisions, Thelma and Louise finally hit the end of the road. Literally. They're cornered at the Grand Canyon. There's no escape. The police there's helicopters. instead of surrendering or even trying to make a run for it, they just look at each other. They both write off on it. Yep, let's just go. Puts the foot on the gas, and they drive off the cliff. That alone is wild. It's a wild ending to the movie, and I was not expecting it. And it could have gone to a dark, like maybe the screen fades out. Maybe we get a message across it. We get some information about what had happened or what happens after, where the authorities find out. That's not what this film does. Instead of making it tragic, because it should have been tragic. The end of this should have played out like a tragedy. These two women going away to fish on a weekend end up fucking Evel Knieveling their fucking Thunderbird into the Grand Canyon. They do a slow motion, dreamy sequence with upbeat music. It's then midair. They're like going through the air. And it's a montage of them laughing, them having fun. It's like it's some kind of victory. It's weird. I know there's some message in it, but it is a total tonal shift. The movie spent all this time building up the tension, showing us the fear, showing us their desperation. And now in the final moments, it feels like it's an uplifting ending. It feels like we should be like, yeah, this is a great 78th inspiring film in history. It's an inspiring moment that these women chose to Dukes of Hazzard their fucking car into the Grand Canyon. It doesn't work for me, Gene. It doesn't work. Because for me, the film spent all this time making the weight of their actions and the men that they interacted and having real consequences. In the end, it was like, woohoo! Like Pee Wee Herman jumping his fucking bicycle out of the studio. It was comical.
If only this were a German independent film, their car would have just flown off. Because love.
Yes, love would make this happen, Gene.
Big D. It was a happy ending. Do you want to die in a hospital bed with the last thing you see, like beige curtains and a fluorescent light and like an AC vent over your head, and your last meal is some flavorless hospital food that tastes like the plastic that it came in? Or would you rather do a fuckload of drugs and drive a chop top into a SpaceX rocket and explode? They lived more in that weekend on the road than they had in 30 years. It is a happy ending because they never got captured, because they ended it on their own terms.
No, I disagree. You said Young Guns earlier. The Young Guns didn't just fucking give up. You had Emilio Estevez hiding in that barrel and rolling down the roof and coming out with his guns. I want them to make a fucking desperate, like beeline to the border. I want, maybe at the border, the police are there and they're like, hey, you got nowhere to go. And they make one last desperate fucking run at the border and they get shot up and it goes to black. That's fine. But here to give up, there was no, well, the cops must have been like, holy shit, did they just fucking drive off the cliff? Well, that was easy. Maybe they don't even die. Maybe Thelma gets paralyzed. Maybe Louise survives and loses like a limb in her eye. There's no guaranteed death. They could somehow survive.
No man was able to control them ever again.
Was that the message, really?
There was no life for them that was going to get better than what they just had that weekend. Why not go out then?
Let's just play devil's advocate here. Yeah. Hypothetically, they're captured. It goes to trial.
Yeah.
What jail time are they looking at? We have Thelma. She robbed the convenience store. She stuck the cop in the trunk. He might have died of dehydration, but luckily we assume that the cyclist let the cop out after he blew the smoke in. Louise,
I don't know if he did.
Maybe not. Louise shot the guy, but she could at least come up with a plausible defense. They could be out. They were young ladies.
So the shooting people, it's really an interesting one. I actually just learned this. So, I mean, there are some places with like a castle doctrine and such, but you are allowed to defend your own life with a weapon, but you are not allowed to decide that someone deserves to die, if that makes sense, right? And she clearly, in that scenario, decided that Harlan deserved to die, which obviously, she's going to be doing some prison time.
Did they go a little too far? A guy makes a rude gesture to them, they blow up his truck. Was that justified?
Legally, no, but I thought it was fucking...
No, but he was gross. He was gross. Yeah. Like, hey, ladies, you want to party? Come over here. And then they go, yeah, let's go. They lured him in.
Yeah.
And they said, let's go pull over. So he thought, yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Well, I mean, you got to figure they're not the only people he's doing that to day in and day out.
Did he deserve to be shot for that?
He didn't get shot.
Well, they shot at him.
No, they shot at his truck.
They blew up his truck. That's his livelihood, Gene.
Yeah.
You know about Chucker's rig? That's his life.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. You're right.
All right. Now is the time in the podcast where we give our Shat score for Thelma and Louise. Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butt. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's when you finally get laid properly. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It's ending up on the damn Geraldo show. I'll go first. Once you get past the forced accents and the tropes that are littered throughout this movie, Thelma and Louise is a rare exhibit of bold feminism in the 90s. The cast is terrific. It's beautifully shot. Even if they spent like a conspicuous amount of time in the desert, I felt like they were in the desert for like a week. And I kept checking the credits to make sure is this Ridley Scott? This does not seem like a Ridley Scott movie at all. With all that considered, it is still an excellent film, not quite perfect. I'm going with 1 wipe.
I got to be honest. I think it's a 2.5 wipe movie. It's memorable because of the performances of Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis. It's memorable because of that iconic jump at the end and like the message you sent. And it's beautiful. It is beautifully shot. But a majority of the film is just them driving around, not doing much, not coming up with any revelations or any breakthroughs. It is very bland. I think Westworld was more beautifully shot than this was. But you got young Brad Pitt, you got some good performances, but in the end, it's the idea of the film that is more memorable than the actual execution. I feel bad. 2.5 wipes.
All right, with 2.5 wipes from you and 1 wipe from me, that gives us an average wipe score of 1.75 wipes for Thelma and Louise.
So, Gene, with a score of 1.75 wipes, that now ties this in the 138 spot in the Pantheon of Shat. It is tied with I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Friday, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Halloween 4, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Hey, Temple of Doom's not shabby.
No, Friday's respectable. Even Drop Dead Gorgeous we really liked.
Yeah.
Halloween 4, Best of the Halloweens.
That's actually what the original title.
Best
Halloween 4, Best of the Halloweens.
Yeah, I think it's respectable. I mean, I was not upset that Rachel had us rewatch this.
No, not at all.
You know, this wasn't a tough watch. No.
Yeah. And I think Rachel is realistic about her expectations too. I think she'd probably agree with us. Speaking of which, I was earnest when I said that it would help to have a female perspective on this film. I would love if our women listeners would write us at hosts@shatpod.com or use the SpeakPipe feature at shatpod.com and just let us know your thoughts, what we got wrong, what we maybe didn't consider. I would love to hear a more rounded approach to this film. And I'm sure that there are things that maybe didn't resonate with me that actually have some terrific significance and would help me understand the movie better. So please do let us know your thoughts on the podcast. I will not be offended if I got something wrong. I would love to learn.
I think I'm a better person and a more well-rounded and adjusted man because of my experiences with you, Roger, Carrie, Ash. I think I have absorbed your perspectives. And I think today I'm more rounded. So I'm eager. I want to hear, what did I miss? What did women who watched this film, what did they get out of it? What did they learn? How did they feel? So please share, enlighten me.
And speaking of voicemail, we do have one from a commissioner this week. It comes from Ronnie, and it's about Class of Newcomb High.
Shat Crew, what's up? This is Ronnie from Louisville, Kentucky again. Just wanted to follow up on the episode I commissioned, the Class of Newcomb High. Man, great episode. I actually did watch the movie this past weekend, and because I knew that I knew that you guys were getting ready to release it, so I wanted to see what we were getting into. And man, woo, that was a rough one. But like, Big D, your initial gut instinct was to give it a 4.85. I agree. I actually gave it a 4.75.
Wow.
But because at least that we got to see your acting chops. So, but the one thing that I think that really got on my nerves about the movie, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but they were playing the same hair metal song over and over and over throughout the entire movie. I think. If it wasn't the same song, it certainly sounded like it was. But that's kind of a cool tidbit, Gene, that you had mentioned that it's Biohazard, because I do remember seeing that in the credits, but I didn't even think to put two and two together that it'd be the same band. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, and I have a little fun tidbit for you guys. So the actress that played Chrissy in the movie, I was curious because, she's an attractive girl in the 80s, and I was thinking, she probably played in different things. Turns out she's missing. She went missing in 2012.
What?
Yeah. Wow. Like nobody knows where she's at. But I do hope that wherever she is, I hope that she does not feel bad about her boobs. As Big D was commenting. I personally thought they were lovely. And Gene, that is awesome that you come to Louisville, Kentucky on a regular basis, man. That what a small world. So yeah, dude, next time you come down, absolutely reach out. Let's hang out. That's pretty cool. Anyways, guys, thanks again for doing the episode. You guys really know how to make a commissioner feel like they're part of it, and I think that's why people commission their movies with you guys. You guys are really good at what you do. I appreciate the endless entertainment as well as everyone else that listens to your show. So keep doing what you're doing, and we'll have to do it again sometime. This was pretty fun. Anyways, guys, take care. Peace out. Gene, I'll talk to you later.
Ronnie, thank you so much for calling in. First of all, I said it on the podcast. I stand by my words. There is someone for everyone, and maybe those boobs were just for Ronnie out there. The universe brought them together with Class of Newcomb High. As for Louisville, Ronnie, I'm not full of shit when it comes to hanging out with the listeners. I've now hung out with Nick. I hung out with Scott H. from Mardi Gras while he was in Arizona, and I will be in Louisville, Kentucky on April 1st. Unfortunately, I got to drive my ass to Milltown, Indiana, park the Chop Top there, and then I'm getting a ride from my good friend Michael Phelps over, not that Michael Phelps, but Milltown, Indiana's Michael Phelps, who's going to drive me to the airport, and then I got to fly out. So unfortunately, this time around, I don't think I'll be in Louisville all that long. But if plans change and I get to town early, I will definitely look you up. I am looking to make it later in the year, though, for like a more prolonged stay.
Yeah, after this voicemail, I would make a trip for that. I'm jealous. Every time I see you photoed with our listeners and supporters, I'm jealous. It is completely circumstantial that she disappeared. I had nothing to do with that. That's sad to hear, and I'm glad you. I don't even want to talk about like that. Her boobs. Forget about that. No, I hope she's okay. I hope she's okay.
Maybe Thelma and Louise could have taken a page out of her playbook and tried to disappear themselves. It was 1991. It wasn't that hard to do.
No. Agreed.
Just get a waitressing job somewhere. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the movie was about, Big D.
No, it's about breaking out of your cage, Gene.
That's right.
Like you said.
That's right.
You're trapped in a metaphorical cage. Yes, I got it. I got it.
All right. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, years after his squad was ambushed during the Gulf War, Major Ben Marco finds himself having terrible nightmares. He begins to doubt that his fellow squad mate, Sergeant Raymond Shaw, now a vice president's candidate, is the hero he remembers him being. As Marco doubts deepen, Shaw's political power grows, and when Marco finds a mysterious implant embedded in his back, the memories of what really happened begin to return. Commissioned by Jose V. This came out in 2004, so into the 2000s. And this is a perfect movie for a perfect time.
It's basically Three Kings, but with Denzel Washington.
Very close. Very, 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 very close. It's very close. We got some C4 Nerf footballs. We got some hijink with the Iraqis and the Republican Guard. Very similar.
Denzel Washington biting Liv Schreiber. It's great. Well, thank you, Jose, for the upcoming commission. Thank you to Rachel for so many commissions, including Thelma and Louise. Thank you to Ronnie and all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all the information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. Big D, fun fact, I've been combing through the subreddits for Lovecraft Country and Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen because I'm a nerd. Mm-hmm. Taboo. There's so much chatter about Taboo. It's the weirdest thing, like almost as much as Westworld.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even remember the show. Like, I remember doing the podcast, but like, if you ask me what happened and over the course of the season, I remember that there was like a lot of grunting.
Well, so just to tell you, like, I've gone back sometimes and I look at the what drives traffic. One of the episodes went crazy, and it was Zilpha isn't dead. She's Taboo's most important character.
Yeah.
That one episode and that one post like doubled and tripled everything else from the series.
People love their Zilpha.
We touched a nerve. I can't explain it.
She was a smoke show. Great boob.
And again, it was one of the write-ups you had done. It was one of your articles. Kudos, my friend.
No, thank you. You've released me from my cage.
Yes, I have.
Now I take flight over the Grand Canyon.
Be free.
We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
When I sleep, I dream. I don't want to dream. Something happened out there in the desert that night during that mission, and it's not what we thought it was, and it happened on my watch.
We've been down this road with you before, yes?
No, sir. Not this road.
Congressman
Shaw! Sergeant Shaw, you ever dream about Kuwait?
Captain Marco!
How much do you actually know about your friend?
I served under him. He was a good man.
That's what the neighbors always say about serial killers.
Somebody put an implant inside me. I got a good feeling they put one in you, too.
You need to get help, Ben.
I'm not crazy, Shaw.
Raymond, this is J.B. Johnston of Manchurian Global.
We're strong supporters.
At a flick of a switch, we can adjust character, change personality.
These are not supposed to exist.
Raymond Prentice Shaw. Listen.
This is a coup. This is rich people funding bad science to put a sleeper in the White House.
Among the shareholders in Manchurian Global, you would find former presidents, supposed kings.
Yeah, I get it. They're big. They're huge.
And you bring me rumors and conjecture.
I started with nightmares, rumors, conjectures. That's a giant leap forward. Somebody got into our heads. Neurons got exposed and circuits got rewired. I think you should leave.
What are you doing?
I gotta find out what's gonna happen, where it's gonna happen.
He's delusional.
So watch where you going!
You swore to me that this was fail-safe. No leaks, no glitches. I will do whatever is necessary to protect my son.
We're gonna stop this and take them out. You don't think they factored you in?
Hello, Captain. Do you remember me?
Man, I want to believe you.
Believe me. Help me. Or shoot me.